Story 1. I went out on a Friday for a few hours with some friends. Just some shopping and catching up. I hadn't seen some of them for the last 2 years due to COVID-19, when we used to hang out almost every week. And I am leaving the country in a few weeks, so we took this opportunity to have a catch-up and farewell party. I was out from late afternoon to about 9 or 10 p.m. When I got home, I took out my keys to unlock the gate, but it wouldn't fit. I tried to turn the key around like a USB, thinking it might fit the other way, but it still wouldn't fit. I called my mother, but she didn't pick up. I called my grandmother, who lives with me, but she was out with her friends as well and wouldn't be home anytime soon. At this point, I was annoyed. My mother had already burnt a couple of my work pants the day before because I refused to wear a dress for work. My line of work requires me to move around a lot, so a dress or office skirt was not suited for my environment. I shook the gate, but no one was home, so I picked the lock. I opened the metal gate after a few tries. Luckily, the wooden door behind it was not locked. The neighbors did call the police, and of course, I had to show them I actually lived there and that it was my legal address. I took some essentials and went to stay at my friend's house for the night because I couldn't lock the door back and I didn't feel safe in the house without a lock. The next day, my grandmother and I were invited to go to a pre-wedding event. It was a meeting of the elders and an engagement party ceremony at a cafe. My mother only sent me the address and time for it. It was perfectly normal for my grandmother to be invited to these things via my mother. My grandmother doesn't know how to use a phone other than for basic functions like calling. We showed up on time to the cafe and were escorted to a booth-type seat at the corner of the cafe. The booth already had a lady mid-40s to 50s and a guy. I assumed she was the mother, and the guy was her son. The moment we sat down, the lady took out a calendar and notepads filled with a list of flower arrangements, color schemes, menus, dresses, hairstyles, etc. She introduced her son, who is 28, by the way, told me what he does for a living, what he studies, and where. She thanked me for agreeing to marry him. I looked at her, then to her son, then to the wedding planners and notes. Then it finally registered that this was for my wedding. My grandmother was upset, to say the least. I apologized to the lady and said there must be some kind of misunderstanding between us because I came to attend someone's engagement party and not plan my own. I added that I was only 20 this year. My grandmother then rudely asked why she thought that I would be marrying her son. The lady replied that my mother contacted her and said her daughter was looking for a partner and husband to settle down so she could move out. My grandmother calmly said to the lady that she had been misinformed, and I was not going to be getting married anytime soon. She said her son seems nice and hopes he finds someone who likes him to marry in the future, but it was not going to be me. We got up and left. When we got home, I found my things stuffed in a black plastic bag beside the door. My grandmother opened the door and told me to bring my stuff in. The moment I stepped through the door, my mother yelled that she put so much effort into finding a guy who would take a girl like me to marry, and that I should be grateful she didn't just marry me off to an older man, and that I should be happy she found someone my age. She told me I embarrassed her because the mother called her and told her what she did was not okay and to not do it again without even asking or informing me properly. My grandmother started to shout at my mother in Cantonese, which resulted in them having a heated argument for almost 30 minutes, and my grandmother kicked my mother out, which of course she complained about and cried about while leaving. Story 2. This happened during lockdown, about December last year. I live in a complex, and all the roofs are connected. We are number 6, quite close to the beginning of the row of houses. Our gutters were filthy from the rain and trees close by, and we didn't have a ladder. So we asked our neighbors, and they were cool with me climbing across their roofs to clean the gutters. I am 17, female, 5'2", and don't weigh a whole lot. I'm really small, weight and height-wise. So I was cleaning out my gutters, and Karen started screaming at me to get down. My little sister is telling me that it's fine, and I know what I'm doing when Karen pulls out her phone and starts videoing me. The whole time, she is screaming that she will report me to the police for being unsafe. By now, I'm done, and I go to jump down. In doing so, I break my foot. I'm an idiot. I scream when I hit the ground because it hurts a lot. Karen storms forward and opens the gate when she sees I'm in pain. She then proceeds to stomp on my broken foot. I scream and shove her back, slamming the heel of my palm into her stomach. By now, a small crowd has gathered, and a neighbor runs up to pull her off me. Unfortunately, the neighbor gets an elbow in the nose for her trouble. Neighbor number 2 calls the police while neighbor number 1 and bystander number 1 hold her back. And bystander number 2 checks if I'm okay and calls an ambulance. Long story short, the police show up, arrest Karen, and I'm carted off to have my foot x-rayed. She gets a $4,000 fine for minor assault. All while screaming that she can't be arrested because she has 2 dogs and a child at home. Silly woman. Edit. I broke my foot jumping off the roof. She crushed 2 bones stomping on it. Otherwise, I just broke half the bones in my foot. Story 3. In August, my cousin and her baby's father begged my parents to move into our old house. My parents had already written off the house, giving it back to the bank. They can't afford to pay the mortgage on that one and the one we're currently living in, and as such, we are several months behind on mortgage and utilities. But figured, if my cousin could pay at least utilities and half the rent, only about $400 per month for them, then we could make it work. Her baby's father had a job lined up, so it seemed all good. 3 weeks in, and many phone calls later, they won't even switch utilities into their name. We haven't seen a dime, and the baby's father quit his job after 1 day and refused to find another one. They've also had 3 paychecks come in from previous jobs, about $800, and refused to pay my folks. My parents tell them it's not working, and they have 2 weeks to get out. After a week, the power company tells us utilities are going to be snapped. Go ahead and snap them. We can't pay, and my cousin and baby's father won't pay. So they did, and my cousin called them, screaming obscenities at them, yet still refusing to pay or put them in her name. A week later, they finally moved out. My parents go to check on the place and call me 20 minutes later. They absolutely trashed the place. Dog poop and dirty diapers everywhere. They also smashed both of the bathroom mirrors, ripped a sink off the wall, threw eggs all over the floor, and broke a 1,000-year-old banister. Obviously, the police were called. I drove 20 minutes there, right after being woken from a deep sleep, worked 2 jobs. Sleep is a precious commodity, and surveyed the damage myself. I met up with the police officer, who, incidentally, is a classmate of mine, which was a pleasant surprise and might motivate him a little more, as I've helped him several times in the past, and we get along really well. We did a bit of cleanup with the help of our old neighbors and moved on for the day. I checked Facebook and found a nasty multi-paragraph note directed towards my immediate family. It included snippets about how she wishes we would die a slow, painful death, how we have filthy housekeeping habits, how we're socially unacceptable, karma will get us, the whole family hates us, called me a dyke, she can't spell very well, and our deceased grandmother would be so ashamed. Usually, I stay out of Facebook drama, but she attacked me, my parents, and my disabled sister. So I responded with an even longer diatribe, giving the facts this time, and telling her all her shortcomings, and essentially telling her to grow up. Naturally, she blocked me, but I screenshot it all and posted it on my Facebook, where most of our extended family saw it and saw the pictures I'd posted of the damage. Several of my friends, family members, even her aunt from her father's side, messaged me and defended us, and posted on her wall and messaged her, calling her out on her nonsense, which I did not ask them to do. My phone did not stop buzzing for 2 days, filled with non-stop support. The social media reputation she spent years building crumbled down in hours. She lost many friends and had to set everything to private because people wouldn't stop harassing her. Obviously, the social media revenge is small compared to the felony charges she and her baby's father are up against, which means they'll lose their kids and their pets, which will also be a blessing. They mistreat the kids and beat their dog, but it made me feel better. I even got to reconnect with some old friends I haven't talked to in a while, including one who was a mutual friend of my cousin and me. And now we've got a cross-country trip planned because of that. Story 4. Some folks from another subreddit recommended I share this story. It's a wild one, so buckle in for the ride. Also, obligatory, this happened a few years ago, several years before the pandemic. I'm in a wheelchair for a good chunk of time due to a medical condition. My in-laws know this, but rarely if ever take accessibility into consideration when we spend time around them. Whether it's a restaurant, sporting event, shopping, holidays, etc. It's always a hassle to spend time around them because their lack of consideration for my accessibility needs isn't taken into account, which ends in my husband and me having to physically struggle to do whatever activity they invited us to. Several years ago, they invited us to a football game. Like a really big and popular football game. As usual, they failed to consider accessibility needs when booking the tickets. When we got to the stadium, they tried to pull a too bad for you stunt. and even attempted to force my husband to leave me alone outside the stadium. Super frustrating. A verbal squabble ensued, and we decided to part ways with them. They continued on to their seats, and we made our way to the ticketing section, hoping they'd still have accessible seats available. We were in luck. Accessible seats were still available. My husband was also in the military, so our tickets were going to be a bit cheaper. As we were explaining our situation to the ticketing agent behind the counter, he put his hands up and refused our payment. He just gave us the tickets for free. Score? Time to grab snacks and food, and then we made our way towards our seats. As we found our seats, we were pleasantly surprised. Our new seats were right down by the field, front and center where all the action was. At some point during the game, my father-in-law tried to sneak into the accessibility seating area and pretended to be part of our party. We told him no and tried making him leave. He wouldn't and tried to be all chummy with us. I guess a security person noticed and told my father-in-law the policy was one companion per disabled person. My companion was obviously my husband. My father-in-law and his now ex-wife had to enjoy the entire game from way up in the bleachers. Story 5. I was a witness to this situation. Many moons ago, I worked for a very large guitar music store in Hollywood. When a customer wanted to try out a guitar, any guitar, we were required to get that guitar down from the wall. This often involved climbing a big ladder to get a guitar. The more expensive the instrument, the higher up it was to make it harder to steal. There was a customer who came in nearly every day and always requested the most expensive guitar. He would then choose the most expensive amplifier, turn it all the way up, and sit for hours jamming. Or at least he thought he was jamming. To us, it sounded like small furry animals being hurt. This guy also never actually bought anything. He would just pick up free guitar picks with the store logo and leave when he was done. One day, a guitar salesman finally hit his breaking point and hatched a plan. He knew that a brand new, ridiculously expensive amplifier had just come in, and that our favorite customer would surely pick that one when he next came in. So, the guitar salesman went over to the pro audio department and borrowed a fog machine and hid it behind the new amplifier. When the not-so-talented customer came back in, the guitar salesman made sure to be the one to take care of him. He climbed the ladder, got down a guitar worth several thousand, and followed the customer to the new amplifier. The customer was excited. The guitar salesman let the guy get through his warm-ups and really get going on his jamming before secretly turning on the fog machine. It honestly looked like the whole amplifier was about to go up in flames. The guitar salesman quickly took the guitar from the customer and told him that he'd have to get a manager. The customer had turned the amplifier up too far and had fried it. Unfortunately, he'd have to pay for it. Store policy was, you break it, you buy it. The look on the customer's face was priceless, and I've never seen anyone get out of that store faster. We never saw him again. Needless to say, the guitar salesman was our hero, and many drinks were bought for him. Good times.